it's bullying in all spheres of life. So I strongly believe that bullying is something everybody faces one or the other time. I think either if it's a workplace, home, social media, friends, family, it's everywhere. So do you agree with me, Dr. Shanky, on that?
No, absolutely. I think the biggest misconception or the biggest thing that all of us believe is bullying is restricted to school. But
Yeah,
bullying, basically, in simpler words, would be anybody putting you down or anybody trying to dominate and trying to put things on you, making you do things, making you feel guilty for saying no. All of it together happening in any sphere of life, at workspace, at home, in our intimate relationships, in our relationships with our peers, our colleagues. It's almost everywhere. It shouldn't be just restricted to the school setting.
exactly. So, ma'am, can you please introduce yourself? Thank you, ma'am, to everybody. To
Okay,
our...
I am a consultant psychologist at BLK Max Super Specialty Hospital. I'm also the founder of Psychology Route, which is an organization providing counseling sessions to people all over the country. And I've been practicing with mental health with almost a decade. So I think that's about me.
So, Geetanjali, ma'am, can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Dr. Geetanjali Kumar, a counseling psychologist, into this profession for the past 22 years, just trying to make my little bit in this big, mighty world, trying to make a difference in small ways only. That's what I think. I love to read books. I love to meet people, talk, understand, communicate. I've authored a couple of books. I do a lot of training programs. Uh, that's it, I think.
Pretty much, ma'am. It was intriguing. So let's move forward to the topic. Ma'am, what is the key arena do you feel that a person faces bullying? Is it in the childhood or the later age, or it's just the same?
It is assumed that the childhood is the most vulnerable period for for an individual, where the person is yet developing. So the skills are not to that level of making the person feel empowered. So it is assumed that childhood can be the most vulnerable period for being experiencing a bullying experience. But I have come through some adults who've had very comfortable childhoods, but during their higher education times, during their workplace, they've experienced bullying, and they were not able to combat it in a manner they should have been. So somewhere their mental health got disturbed, and that's how they came into my space, and we worked together for their healing. So it'll be difficult for me to categorize that X period is the most vulnerable period. It depends upon how the personality is being developed, how the individual develops his or her own self confidence, how skillful and empowered that person feels at some stage of time in life to take up such issues.
So what is your point of view on that, Dr. Shanky?
So I believe, as ma'am rightly said, that when one is growing up and it's their foundation years, a child does not have notions of what things are supposed to be. It's like a piece of clay that's being formed by their experiences around, what relationships are, what social spaces are, and their ideas of what is okay and what is not okay are yet being developed. So I feel in that space, when one goes through a bullying experience and they're not able to speak about it and they're not able to address it in the manner that it gets resolved, it impairs the person's growing up ability. It impairs and impacts them so much that it takes a while for us to undo that later on when they come in therapy. And a lot of times, that one observation that I have observed with a lot of my clients is that a lot of anxiety and a lot of mental health issues happen because people are not able to assertively communicate their needs. They do not voice out what they're feeling, what is going on, and they become very passive about things. Because while growing up, few experiences or few things that they had was like they were always told what to do. They were always made to feel small or made to feel powerless when they voiced out their need. And as a result, they feel really guilty when they say no. And that is a skill that we really work on in later spaces. So I believe it's important to understand how it begins in the foundation years. It's a very delicate and a very impressionable age. But going forward, once one enters teenage and even adulthood, even then it continues to be something that we should be addressing and speaking about, because it definitely creates a lot of impact at every age for an individual.
Yeah. So everybody is bullying at some point of the other in their lives. How can a person tell? Because it's very difficult to say that I am being bullied or I have been bullied in the past. It's very difficult because you feel people might judge you, or you go to your family and tell them I'm being bullied. So is there any way they can go up, feel they're comfortable about the fact that they're being bullied, and they can tell their parents or families? What should they do? How can they tell?
Okay. So I feel one of the main things is the reactions. You know, we always talk about what a person who's being bullied can do. How about we change the focus to the people around us? How can parents, how can teachers, how can everybody around be a little more empathetic and understanding in the space that if someone comes to me and tells me I'm having a difficulty there, this person was being a little extra to me, teach them, educate them more about good touch, bad touch. See what sort of verbal, mental, physical way they're being abused or bullied at work. The way he'll be receptive will definitely open a lot of doors. Like imagine this today, Kavya. If we have a conversation about something and I make you feel comfortable, I make you feel heard in that space, you would be so much more comfortable talking about a vulnerable space the next time you speak to me. So one of the major things I think which serves as a roadblock is that when kids or even adults talk about bullying, a lot of times the natural reaction is कुछ नहीं होता, ठीक हो जाएगा, कुछ नहीं होता, उसको ignore करो, इसको बड़ी बात मत बनाओ, and you minimize their problem and make them feel like, am I judging this wrong?
Or
Is
am I
this how?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Am I overthinking this? If it's making you uncomfortable, if it's disturbing you, if it is something that you're not okay with, speak up. But it's important for everybody around to have that empathetic, non-conditional environment that one feels comfortable speaking up.
So, Geetanjali ma'am, what's your take on that?
I'll certainly agree with what Shanky says. And I was just imagining the way things unfold in a person's life, trying to revisit some of the old memories of people who've interacted. And I could just think of an individual who has this comfort that I have somebody to hold on to. If each one of us can feel that anchor in a relationship, whether it is a parent, whether it is a peer, whether it is a school teacher, a tutor, any adult, or for that matter, any age mate also, who serves as an anchor, who's there to listen to me and listen to me in terms of not my words, my feelings, as Shanky was putting it up, that they don't minimize their experience, they don't minimize their pain, and it is much more than minimizing. I feel it is a non-judgmental acceptance of the experience where there is no trace of denial, and nowhere the person is made to feel low or small कि तुम इतनी सी बात भी नहीं सह सकते, ये तो कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. So there is something wrong with me if I feel myself as a victim. So we'll have to de-victimize this concept, and we will have to actually create that acceptance and warmth that anything and everything can be shared. So as the children grow up, they have the parent as their anchors. And in the schools also, like the schools are following the anti-bullying campaigns. Is there a person whom they can walk up to? The school counselors will be performing that role. The school nurse will be performing that role. Who is that person whom I can go up to and talk? If I know that person, and if the distance to reach out that person, the route to reach out that person is very clear and made comfortable, made hurdle free. Since I visit two professional spaces as a visiting psychologist there, I've always felt that the young adults want to know how private that space is, how their privacy would be maintained, how confidentiality would be maintained. कोई उनको आते हुए भी ना देखे, वो इतना कंफर्ट चाहते हैं। अगर वो अच्छी बात बताना चाह रहे हैं या कोई खराब अपना एक्सपीरियंस बताना चाह रहे हैं, और फॉर दैट मैटर अपना कोई सवाल शेयर करना चाह रहे हैं, द काइंड ऑफ प्रिवेसी एंड कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी। सो ये एहसास भी हर इंसान को मिलेगा कि उसकी बात को सुना और समझा जाएगा, और सुनने और समझने के बीच में महसूस करना बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है। वर्क प्लेस पे वी हैव anti-harassment laws, we have the Vishaka committee coming up. हर जगह पर ये एहसास कि जो भी हम महसूस कर रहे हैं, feelings cannot be challenged. And one experience of mine which has put me down is not going to label me as a weak person, as a loser, as a sissy. I need to grow up, and I will grow up with warmth and support. And there's a lot of people who somehow try and give it a permission, वो legitimacy कर देते हैं. Such incidents are very important. तुम strong कैसे होगे? ये experiences तो बड़े जरूरी हैं. Even we had them in our childhood. But we need to understand their individual differences. If I could stand a stern eye, if I could tolerate a strong voice and an abuse, that doesn't mean I've done something good and there's something nice about me. And my children also need to grow up strongly in this manner.
Exactly.
So कहीं ना कहीं मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अगर हम हर इंसान को इंसान समझ पाएंगे, हर इंसान को दूसरे इंसान से अलग समझ पाएंगे, अलग इन द सेंस इंडिविजुअल डिफरेंसेस, बट हम एक कंपैशनेट इंक्लूसिविटी का क्लाइमेट बिल्डअप करें अपने घरों में, अपने स्कूल्स में, अपनी वर्क स्पेसेस में. नाउ देयर इज वन पर्सन हु आस्क्स अ क्वेश्चन 3 times, मुझे समझ में नहीं आया, मुझे दोबारा से बताइए, लिफ्ट कहाँ है, 414 नंबर कमरा कहाँ है. इमेजिन इन अ हॉस्पिटल, जहाँ शैंकी is telling us, imagine somebody enters a BLK hospital and wants to know where do I go to this X room, and the lift attendant is not very comfortable to talk to, gives an answer back, retort करते हैं, आपको 2 बार बताया, आपको समझ में नहीं आया. मुझे तो लगता है कि ये भी एक इंसान के कॉन्फिडेंस को कम कर देगा. आई एम सॉरी, आई एम जस्ट यूजिंग इट एज एन एग्जाम्पल, बट बुलिंग को समझने के लिए हमें बुलिंग की, जिसको कहते हैं ना, लेंथ ऑफ ब्रेड्थ को एक्सटेंड करना पड़ेगा, कि कैसे एक आवाज भी मेरी आवाज को दबा देती है या मेरे कॉन्फिडेंस को कम कर देती है, मेरी डिसीजन मेकिंग एबिलिटी को कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर देती है, टेम्पररीली ऑल्सो.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So moving on, so I think bullying is just very personal to everybody, and everybody faces in different spheres of life. So what happens when a wife or a husband is bullied by their spouses? So I think in a marriage, the bullying happens. So do you agree with it? And how can a person overcome it?
Who's answering? Shanky,
please go ahead, ma'am. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Anybody can go ahead.
सॉरी. डेफिनेटली शादियों में भी बुलिंग होती है, क्योंकि जिस शादी में ये समझा जाए कि बड़ा कौन, स्ट्रॉन्गर कौन, माइटियर कौन, तो जहां पर 2 इंसान एक दूसरे से इस कंपटीशन में रहते हैं, इस जंग में रहते हैं, इस होड़ में रहते हैं, जहां पर शादी एक रेस बन जाती है, वहां शायद बुलिंग आ जाती है. जहां पर कुछ पर्सनैलिटीज, लाइक आई वाज टॉकिंग इन द मॉर्निंग ऑल्सो, आई विल गिव व्हाट आई हैव रिसीव्ड. If I have received such kind of violent experiences, if I've received such kind of aggressive responses, if my feelings have been stifled, if I have been treated in a certain manner, so my behavior, my mannerism, my conversation, everything will perhaps depict that, and shayad main wo give back bhi karunga. So marriages also are unable to escape from such a kind of experiential roundabout. And it is sad and very unfortunate. Kahin na kahin, in present times, the marriages today are suffering because of visible and invisible bullying, active and passive bullying. बहुत एग्रेसिव बुलिंग भी कई बार दिखती है, कई बार बड़ी माइल्ड बुलिंग भी दिखती है, जहां पे the spouse and the children gang up against the other spouse, उनके खाने पर, उनके प्रेफरेंसेस पर, टेस्ट पर, बिहेवियर पर, मैनरिज्म पर हम मजाक करते चले जाते हैं, and that team of 3 and 4 is so intimidating for that one person कि वो गिव बैक नहीं कर पाता, आंसर बैक नहीं कर पाता, समझ ही कुछ नहीं आ सकता आपको, और वो धीरे धीरे चंद महीनों में, चंद सालों में मान लेता है वो स्पाउस कि हाँ मुझे समझ में नहीं आता है, मैं इसको हैंडल नहीं कर सकता हूँ. So the distance between the family members, between the spouses increases, the communications get distorted, and the emotional connect, the bond becomes so cold and frigid that the marriage loses its flavor and the charm.
So what is your point of view, Dr. Shanky, on that?
I feel that any relationship where two people are involved does have the capability of either being very healthy. And one of the unhealthy things that we see in relationship, especially when we talk about marriage, is a very strong codependency in some unhealthy relationship. And when you are very codependent, it's your responsibility to make me feel happy. It's your responsibility to do this. And when that power domain gets very trickled, just the way Dr. Geetanjali was saying it, that when we get into that competition, who's more powerful, who's more out there, who's the boss here, I think that is when directly or indirectly a lot of bullying becomes a part of a relationship. I feel if we as individuals understand ourselves, understand what is important to me, what domains are important for me, how do I balance things out, because I think it's equally important for all of us to understand we have all been bullied and we've all been a bully to someone. Exactly. It's not one way. If we understand that what could have I done differently in my relationship with my spouse, in my relationship with my peers, did I voluntarily or involuntarily bully someone? क्या मैं अपना opinion push कर रही थी और उसको बोल रही थी तुम्हें नहीं पता? Maybe I was doing it at a subconscious level. Maybe I was not doing it at such a strong conscious level. But I think in a relationship, one needs to be more sensitive because the relationship in itself involves your entire time together. You're building a home, a family together. So you get so many more opportunities to either be a healthy relationship and so many more opportunities to be a bully to each other. Because if we meet our work colleagues or there's a limited time, limited interaction. But with the colleague, with our partner, we're discussing right from what will be cooked at home to what will the kids eat, what time will everybody wake up. Jitna zyada decisions to make hai, utna zyada possibility of a bullying space being naturally happening between couples can be there.
Exactly. So, sorry,
Kavya,
yes,
listening to Shanky just reminds me that at times there are no words. The very stern silence also communicates a bullying behavior. हम कुछ कहते भी नहीं है, लेकिन इतना strain ले आते हैं रिश्तों में, and marriages have a fallout of this kind of a very silent kind of a bullying environment that sets in, where words are not exchanged at all. And thing that comes to my mind now is that if we can encourage our young ones and even our young adults, for that matter, people working professionally, to indulge in certain self-awareness exercises in terms of knowing myself as to how do I behave, how do I talk, मेरी बातों का क्या impact आता है, मैं जैसा कहती हूँ वैसा समझा जाता है, क्या समझा जाता है मेरी बात से. If I say it's okay, does it sound it's okay? Or it sounds that I'm annoyed and saying it, or it actually sounds that I mean what I say, it's okay. So a lot of self-awareness as an act, as a remedy, as a practice, as a ritual, if we can take up, तो ही तो हम जान पाएंगे what Shanky is trying to say, कि how do I impact the other person?
Exactly.
बहुत जरूरी है ये जानना और समझना, and parents will have to set up very healthy role models for that. And uske liye as a couple, if they can have such kind of open and transparent communications, which is a no fight zone, where they're just talking, one is talking and the other is listening, and the other is talking and the first one is listening, दोनों आपस में बातचीत करके एक नो फाइट जोन तय करके, ताकि वो एक दूसरे को समझ पाए. The way you look, it hurts me somewhere, it makes me feel uncomfortable. You may not mean to belittle me, but the way you look, it makes me feel so small and petite.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I think just adding on to that, I think silent treatment is the most passive way of showing aggression. We all believe, I will not talk to you. I will show my power by being silent.
Marriages
that way
suffer because of this.
Yeah, and ma'am, because of that, a lot of people start having this unhealthy space that the one who's not silent becomes needy. And as a result is bullied more because they are on the other extreme of the continent. So I believe what you're rightly saying about self-awareness, about understanding ourselves also. What is it that I want to communicate? Am I saying it the right way? Or am I also being disrespectful? Because it's never one way.
Never.
Every marriage, every relationship is mutual between two people.
Certainly.
Certainly. So what can a person do, and how can the person seek help if I am the one who's being bullied, or I am feeling bullied by my family or my spouse or my friends? What should I do? Where should I go up to? The first thing I should do. Dr.
I think the first step is that I recommend as a psychologist is that go to the right kind of support system, the right kind of help. If you're in a school or a university, every school and university will have a school counselor, will have a person who's very well trained and equipped to provide you the right kind of support. Somewhere we just talk to a friend about it, and the friend's opinion paints the entire picture. अगर फ्रेंड ने बोल दिया कुछ नहीं होता, मेरे साथ हुआ था, तो we brush it under the carpet and we put it there, not understanding someday we will lift that carpet, and the day we lift it, we're going to have so much difficulty regulating those emotions. So I think step one, understanding what I went through. One beautiful practice that I think teenagers, adolescents, and everybody should practice is journaling. Write down what you felt, what happened in that moment. This person said this to me, I felt disrespected, I felt humiliated, I felt like a victim. Once you write it down, you'll gain so much more clarity, which then you should be further communicating to the right support system. These days, even speaking to a psychologist has become in the press of a button on Google. You can go to Google, find a psychologist, get a number, schedule a session, and start working there. Anything that impacts you will have a very strong power to shape your future.
Exactly.
Either, and I feel if we all become okay speaking up, not thinking that this bullying will identify me. This is not like a thing that if I was bullied and I talk about it, like ma'am was saying earlier, कि उनके लिए confidentiality इतना बड़ा issue होता है. कोई मुझे देख ना ले, मेरी friends क्या बोलेंगे? तू psychologist के पास गया था? क्या हो गया? What is wrong? And those eyes full of judgment make the other person feel like, okay, I am being a sissy here, or I'm not really being the person, that strong person that I should be. So I think that sort of pseudo mechanism that gets in there is the biggest roadblock to talking about bullying, speaking about mujhe ye galat laga, mujhe isse hurt feel hua, what is the right way to undo it? What is the right way? And then I'm sure the counselor, all the psychologists, if you're coming from a school or an institution setting, the counselor will have necessary following steps to take with the school, maybe involving the parents at a later stage. Because a lot of bullying, I believe majority of the bullying goes under noticed. Nobody speaks about it. So speaking about it, I think is the necessary first step. And I think ma'am can shed more light on this.
Yeah, I have one more question for you, Dr. Shanky. As you said, speaking out, do you feel that when you speak it out, like if I go to my friends and tell them I'm seeking some mental help, do you feel I'll be bullied more about the fact that it's a taboo in India and everybody considers that, oh, it's why it's happening like that?
See, Kavya, the way the domain is changing now, it's become way lesser than what it used to be 5 years ago. But having said that, it's equally important for us to understand, even now, people shy away. The stigma that's attached to talking about mental health. I mean, I can so comfortably say I fell and I have a fracture in my feet. Nobody will judge me. But if I say, oh my God, I was anxious and I had a panic attack, it'll be like, oh my God, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, you'll be bullied.
So you'll be bullied more, and you'll be like, okay, तुझे ये हो रहा है, क्या हो गया है, तू ठीक नहीं है. The kind of terms that I have heard is like people come on sessions and they're like, ma'am, मैं psycho नहीं हूँ, तो आप ये मत समझना I'm reaching out because I'm a psycho, but I'm going through this difficulty. So the society conditioning stereotypes around mental health, Kavya, are definitely lesser in the last 5-6 years. In my practice, I've seen major changes, especially after COVID, the kind of awareness that's come. But again, having said that, I think I really believe if I can be mindful, if someone comes and speaks to me about their mental health, and I can make sure that I don't judge them because that is something in my control. If each one of us be more mindful of how we are responding to that, I think that is where the change is.
So what is your take on that, Dr. Geetanjali?
I fully endorse what Shanky is talking about, but I want you to, go one step before I walk up to somebody and talk about I'm being bullied. Much before that, each individual as a child needs to understand what is bullying and what is not bullying.
Exactly.
Because that would very clearly define when I seek help, and I seek help for what? For the hurt or pain that is caused to me, for the way I feel in terms of my emotions, the turmoil, or I learn to cope with it, or what I'm feeling is right. I hope I'm trying to make my point clear here, that we have children who are growing up sensitively. We all need to bring up children with certain amount of sensitivity, but where do we draw a line? That is something which adults, whom I term as responsible adults in the lives of the young ones, need to very clearly help children understand what is bullying and what is not bullying. A difficult conversation, a strong word said by a parent, by a teacher, may not be a bullying behavior. But it hurts me, it affects me adversely. I feel sad, I cry, I sell. So I think it is bullying. No, we need to create some amount of clarity in our children, because such children, if they lack clarity, will grow up individuals with confused minds. And their responses to certain situations will create conflicting behaviors, and their interpersonal relationships at their workspaces and in their adult lives will be greatly distorted. So एक backlash आ जाएगा उनके जीवन में, जिसका ध्यान हमें बचपन से ही रखना होगा. पहले तो ये चीज की क्लैरिटी होनी चाहिए. फिर बुलिंग को टैकल करने के लिए there is certain things, something as preventive and certain things which are remedial. So when I walk up to the person, पहले तो मैं जा किस ले रही हूँ? अपने मन की बात कहने के लिए. और फिर जब मैं अपनी मन की बात कहती हूँ तो मैं अपनी मन की बात को समझ पाती हूँ कि ये क्या है और मुझे क्या महसूस हो रहा है. वो तो शायद मुझे पता है, लेकिन वो क्या की गहराई क्या है और वो क्या क्यों महसूस हो रहा है. Somewhere I need to work within myself also. बहुत बार यंग एडोलेसेंट जो है बॉडी शेमिंग वाले रिस्पॉन्स कॉन्वर्सेशंस उनके साथ हो जाती है. फैमिली मेंबर्स डू इट, टाइम एंड अगेन दे डू इट. सो आई स्टार्ट क्वेश्चनिंग माई सेल्फ. एक ग्रोथ के एक लाइफ में एक ग्रोथ का पैटर्न है. उस ग्रोथ के पैटर्न से कुछ बिहेवियर्स कनेक्ट हो जाते हैं, जो मेरे माइंड में कहीं ना कहीं नोट्स बना देते हैं, जो लाइफ टाइम मैं कैरी करती हूँ. सो द वर्ल्ड विल चेंज फॉर मी, और आई विल चेंज माई सेल्फ, द वे आई लुक एट इट, द वे आई अंडरस्टैंड when do I stay quiet, when do I give an answer, how do I give an answer, and few years by the line I'll be able to not get disturbed by all this. So walking up to the therapist की बात से बहुत पहले कि मैं अपने आप को थोड़ा सा समझती हूँ, क्या महसूस कर रही हूँ, और जिसके पास हम जा रहे हैं, मैं ये मानती हूँ कि despite this change which has come in the entire world, where we are talking about mental health in a slightly more comfortable manner, as Shanky is also putting up, अब depression, anxiety, ये सब लोग बात कर रहे हैं, समझ पा रहे हैं या नहीं समझ पा रहे. मतलब my mate doesn't come on time तो भी मुझे एंजाइटी हो जाती है ना. हम 2 दिन कहीं बाहर नहीं जाते तो मैं डिप्रेस हो जाती हूँ. पीपल टॉक, मतलब बहुत हाउस होल्ड टर्म्स हमने उनको बना लिया है. एवरीबडी इज ट्राइंग टू डायग्नोज देम, which is also very unhealthy. But कहीं ना कहीं एक कंफर्ट लेवल आ जाने के बाद भी मैं ये कहती हूँ, one safe, warm, trusted adult in the life of an young one. वो प्रोफेशनल है या नहीं है उस पर सवाल अभी नहीं उठा सकते, बिकॉज बहुत ज्यादा अभी भी मिसमैच है in terms of the need and the supply which we have. We coming up with second rung of professionals, third rung of professionals in terms of short-term courses and training them over tele-helpline, tele-counseling services. बहुत कुछ चल रहा है, कई बार वहां से भी गड़बड़ हो जाती है. बट अगर हम एक ट्रस्टेड एडल्ट से बात कर पाते हैं, lot of times airing helps. हम बात कर लेते हैं, हम चीजों को समझ पाते हैं. If I have my aunt and uncle who come to my house for every dinner and they ask me that you're putting on a lot of weight, तुम ध्यान रखो, तुम ये मत खाओ, तुम वो मत खाओ, वो तो हर बार होगा. सो वो एक्सपीरियंस को मुझे डील करना है with positivity, my self confidence. तो मैं, can I speak with my mother about it? Will my mother listen? So I feel schools, colleges, hospitals, other community networks, if we can hold sensitization programs for understanding कि लफ्जों का इम्पैक्ट क्या आता है. Oh, we love her so much, तो हमने कहा कि अगर ये अभी नहीं अपना ध्यान रखेगी तो आगे शादी में बड़ी मुश्किल हो जाएगी. Imagine a 14-year-old listening to this. वो 14 साल की उम्र से 19 साल 21 साल तक यही सुनती है, और 21 साल के बाद वो उनको सुनना और देखना भी नहीं चाहती है. The impact of bullying कैसे travel कर जाता है over the years. So if we can have the families oriented and sensitized to this, so if people like Shanky अपने spaces में, professional spaces में, if they can organize more community programs, I would think, I think वो ज़्यादा फायदेमंद रह जाएगा in terms of reaching out to people, because our country is a place जहाँ strength भी numbers है और weakness भी numbers है.
Exactly. So thank you so much, Dr. Geetanjali and Dr. Shanky, for being a part of our webinar. And it was so insightful and so informative. I thank you both. We at Solh are welcoming you always to our platform, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Kavya. It was a pleasure being here. And I think it was such a pleasure interacting with Geetanjali ma'am. I got to hear beautiful insights, what you said about the community space, ma'am. So fantastic in chatting with you. And thank you, Kavya, for the warm invite.
Thank you so much. We'll be looking forward for more such sessions. Thank you so much for being a part. Goodbye.
Thank you, Kavya, and thank you, Shanky. Fresh winds of information and knowledge is always a very, very pleasant feeling. So that is what I have gained. Or Kavya, you are, I would say, a good moderator. You've done your job very well, and I hope your listeners have also benefited from your show. Looking forward to some more. Thank you, dear.
Thank you, ma'am.